Marlon says AI, LLMs. Gerald says ChatGPT. Jenny, LLMs. COVID, that's a good guess. That's a good guess. We're not going to go with COVID, Ramiz. We are correct, ChatGPT. And right, generative AI, LLMs, they didn't just change SEO. They really changed almost everything. It changed how we work, how we learn, how we shop, and of course, how we search. So most local businesses are using AI right now, which definitely is a step in the right direction. Using AI gives you a competitive advantage. You know, no matter how much you may hate or may love AI, it's a competitive advantage to use it. It's not going away. It's here to stay. So we really want to talk about how to use AI effectively. So if you're watching this, if you wanted to come to this webinar, then that probably includes you. So maybe you're a local business owner, and I mean, this pox on local business owners, this myth that you need to write a weekly blog post in order to rank. I hate this. Like, it's completely wrong. It's a waste of time. If you're doing this as a business owner, I give you permission to stop writing weekly blog posts, okay? Maybe you're an agency owner. You're stressed out. You're looking at YouTube videos, finding these outdated tactics, and you really just want some magical solution to stop your clients from churning so you can actually rank them. Or maybe you're this SEO expert, air quotes intended, but you're secretly terrified. Months of work, no results. You had tactics. You had a system that worked, but now that doesn't do anything anymore. And we're going to talk about why. And if any of those sound like they could be you, then we have some news, some good and some bad. We always start with the bad news. Time is running out. 2026 is largely the last year you have. We need to adapt or it's going to be too late, okay? Now, the good news is that you're here. And in the next 60 minutes, you're going to get an SEO system that is very simple, very fast, and battle tested to dominate in 2026. Now, it's not easy to do. I'm not promising that this is, push button easy, but it is very simple. We have three systems in this pillar, or three pillars in this system. The first one we call the visibility gap. Now, in the visibility gap, we're going to try to understand why 80% of local businesses are invisible for most of their services and how to diagnose where they're losing money. Okay? Now, the second one, we call that the Core 30 structure. This is the exact website architecture that forces Google and AI to trust your business. The third one, we call it the Core 30 implementation plan. We're going to walk through this, a step-by-step process that will allow you to build the Core 30 structure and dominate your local market. Not only am I going to show you how the system works, what the system is, I'm also going to show you how you can use AI to automate this. And as I mentioned at the very end, I have a Q&A session where you can ask any SEO questions you have to make sure you know how to implement this properly and see results in your business or for your clients. So let's talk about the elephant crushing the SEO industry. The inability to deliver consistent SEO results. Maybe you get lucky sometimes. Maybe you ranked someone #1 for snow removal Miami. So you celebrate, you feel like a genius, but you try the exact same thing for a client like Plumber Houston, a complete disaster, nothing moves, or even worse, it makes results horrible. It tanks results. Now, that could mean that you start dreading every single SEO project. You know that you're just gambling. You don't have a system. You don't have a process. You're just doing things and hoping it works. And your clients will start figuring that out. If they don't see results, clients leave, businesses die, your reputation takes a hit. Now, if that sounds familiar, you honestly are not alone. This is the really dirty secret of the SEO industry. The SEO industry is full of snake oil salesmen, high churn, crappy results, and a terrible reputation. They rely on getting new clients as quickly and frequently as possible instead of providing results for the clients they have. And honestly, it only gets worse. So, you're probably asking what actually works right now? How can you make sure that clients don't churn? And how can you actually rank and grow your own business? So before we dive into how to fix it, we need to talk about why it broke, why things stopped working. Why did everything change? And it's quite simple, okay? There's a technology that AI models are based on. It's called the transformer. And obviously, I'm not talking about Optimus Prime. It's the T in ChatGPT. ChatGPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, okay? The transformer was invented in 2017 by Google itself. Google released a paper that detailed how to build the transformer and what it was. It was a seminal research paper that Google released publicly. Perhaps now that all these other companies exist about LLMs, they might regret releasing it publicly, but they did. And after they did, they quietly started rebuilding their entire search engine with the transformer technology. That means that Google's core search algorithm runs on the same technology that ChatGPT and other LLMs use. Google itself is almost an AI. So if you're still using tactics that are pre-2022, then you're speaking the wrong language to a different machine. So the playbook that we're going to use is simple. We're going to use AI to rank for AI. Using AI to rank for AI is like using a mirror to check your hair, right? We don't guess, we just look, right? So doing this, it works so much better than listening to all of these SEO gurus who sell you complicated tactics that are designed to make them smart instead of giving you something that actually works. So I want to play a game to make sure we're all on the same page, test your SEO knowledge, make sure we're all starting from the same point. This is a game we all know very well. It's true or false. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to give you a statement, and then I'd love it if you guys typed true or false in the chat, okay? Now, let's go ahead. The first one, using AI for SEO, is complicated and take months to see any results. Is this true or false? Let's see, we get Jenny saying false, Cole false, Greg false, Sharon false, Wayne, Kyle, Valentine, Mark, Lisa, Kevin, Brian, Regina, Jeff. Everyone says this one is false. All right, false. This one is false. Awesome. Using months and months to get results is the old way. AI makes SEO faster and simpler. This is an example from my own agency. What we used to take an hour and $5,000 to do, we can now do in like 30 minutes. What we used to take 6 months to do, we can now do in 14 days and show real movement on rank maps. Okay, AI becomes an unfair advantage if you have the right system. It gives you real, consistent, and measurable results. Now, the right system is not opening ChatGPT and saying, please help me rank my website. ChatGPT doesn't know how to rank websites. It's guessing. So we want to go through and make sure we have a repeatable system. Okay, next question. 40% of companies have adopted AI. Is this one true or false? Let's see, Greg, true, false, Wayne, false, Christopher, false, Kevin, false, George, false, Shay says true, Brian, true, Dayton, that's a fun name, Dayton, that says true, Regina again, thank you, says true. This one is false. McKinsey in 2025, obviously out of date, this is last year, said that 78% of companies have already adopted AI. Okay, that's up from 50% of companies in 2024. So almost certainly this number is higher than this today, which means if you're not using AI right now, you're behind nearly 3 out of 4 of all of your competitors. And the gap widens every single day. Companies who are effectively using AI are getting faster, smarter, and more efficient, while a bunch of other people are still just trying to figure out if it's real. All right, let's do another one. Only younger people use AI tools for search. Is this true or false? All right, we got a lot of falses. Darren, George, Mark, Lisa, Valentine says true. Brian, false. Beck, false. Shay, false. Ronana, false. Eduardo, false. Jana, false. This one is indeed false. Again, we're using a study, a reference from last year, almost certainly higher. 1.3 billion people are actively using generative AI. Gemini passed 1 billion users. ChatGPT has like 700 million users. And AI search traffic increased last year by over 500%. And again, that's 2025 figures. We don't have figures yet for 2026. These are massive, massive numbers. It's not just Gen Z playing with ChatGPT, asking ChatGPT to act as their therapist, which is a horrible idea, by the way, but apparently that's super popular among Gen Z. It's a lot of professionals, business owners, decision makers, people who have money and are looking for something to buy with that money. Okay. Now, what that means, if your SEO isn't great, then you will become invisible to all of these searchers using AI. And that won't happen in 5 years. It won't happen in 3 years. It's likely going to happen by the end of this year as it becomes more and more popular as AI search takes over. And when I say that, what I mean, back in March, this was a few months ago, Google rolled out one of the biggest updates to Maps that they've done in over a decade. They rolled out a feature called Ask Maps. So if you go to maps.google.com, you can go to Ask Maps, and then you can have a discussion with Gemini about local businesses. Now, this might not seem like a very big deal because nobody goes to maps.google.com and starts a chat with Gemini about local businesses. But when Google does things like this, what it really means is that Google is testing Gemini, testing it to see how well it does at recommending local businesses. Gemini, of course, is Google's AI. So when Google is confident in what Gemini is doing, 100% it is going to roll Gemini into the local map pack, and they're already doing that. Like right now, around 10% of local searches have an AI-generated result instead of the historic map pack. We can only assume that's going to grow, especially as we get toward the end of this year. More and more people are going to be more and more reliant on AI-powered search, especially for local businesses. If you're a local business with a Google business profile, you've largely been able to ignore AI search because it hasn't come for you, but it will, and likely by the end of this year, okay? Now, the big difference, when Gemini recommends local businesses, you lose one of your biggest advantages. In the old system, the old 3-pack algorithm, you can accidentally rank just by being close to the searcher. We call that proximity. But Gemini doesn't care about proximity in the same way that the old algorithm does. So what that means, if you're a small business, you might have been ranking just because of proximity. That goes away. And now we really, really need to make sure that Google's AI, that Gemini, understands your business and will recommend your business to real searchers. Okay? Now, recently, this was maybe a month or so ago, the CEO of Google, his name is Sundar Pichai. He's the CEO of Alphabet, which is Google's parent company. He sat down for an interview and he was talking about Google's long-term planning. And he said that their long-term planning is 12 months. Okay? That's it. AI is changing things too fast. So the CEO of a multi-trillion-dollar company said that they're only planning 12 months in advance. I thought this was absolutely insane. If you feel bad about not doing 5-year plans for your business, don't worry. Alphabet, Google, they're only planning a year in advance also. But what's important here, he described the future of Google as an agent manager. What that means, somebody's going to go to google.com, type in what they want. And instead of Google returning a bunch of websites, Google is going to send out a bunch of AI agents who will then look for what you typed in and then bring the text back to you. So kind of like a super LLM, but on Google's own homepage. Okay. He talked for an hour in this interview, and he never once talked about humans visiting websites, okay? A lot of you might have heard of this. It's being known as the dead internet theory, where the internet basically exists for AI agents to crawl, not for humans to visit websites anymore. More and more of these features, as they roll out, it's going to result in more and more people being reliant on AI-powered search, whether you want to be or not. Eventually, if you go to Google, you're going to do an AI search, even if you don't want to. What that means, we obviously must adapt before it gets too late. The faster, the sooner we can plan for this, the better positioned your business is going to be. Okay, a bit of a tangent there. Let's go to the next one. You need to be a technical SEO expert to rank local businesses. Is this one true or false? All right, Greg, Martin, Wayne, George, Beck, Ronana, Christopher, Cole, Kevin, false, 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 Valentine, Eduardo, Jenny, Brian, Jana, Ramiz, false, 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 Regina, hope it's false, Lisa, wonderful, Dayton, false. This one is false. That one's for you, Lisa. Okay, that's the biggest lie. I say biggest lie. Maybe it's the second biggest lie. There's a lot of lies. Okay, we'll just go with it. This is the biggest lie the SEO industry has sold you, that the experts need you to believe that ranking is impossibly complicated, because if it's too complicated, then you need the experts. Okay, if you're familiar with SEO, there's someone who's well known in SEO. I won't name drop him, but I knew the company who was in charge of writing his blog. And at one point, he was giving them feedback for his blog, and he said, "Yeah, this sounds good, but make it more complicated. Otherwise, people will just follow this blog and do it themselves instead of having to hire us." Okay. I said, "Wayne, I'm not going to confirm which particular well-known SEO person this is, but just know that they try to make it seem as complicated as possible. But with AI, ranking local businesses has become much, much easier. AI handles the grunt work. You don't need 10 years of experience. You need the right system and the right agentic workflow. You can get 70 to 80% of the results without complicated tactics, just applying the fundamentals. Now, again, it's not easy. I said this at the beginning. This isn't easy, but it is simple. Okay, another one. You need more reviews than your competitors to rank higher. True or false? Let's see. Greg says false. Darren, Wayne, Cole, false, false, false. Jenny, Mary, Dayton, falsy, says Dayton. George, Brian, Renona, Beck, Alameen, Kevin, Sharon says true. It's okay. This is a common myth. This one is false, but it's yet another myth. I was going to say the biggest myth, but I think I said that a few slides ago. So I'll just say it's yet another myth that more reviews mean higher rankings. Perhaps I am cynical, overly skeptical, but one of the reasons I think this became such a big myth is if you hire an SEO who doesn't know how to rank your business, it's easier for that SEO to say, well, it's your fault because you don't have enough reviews, than it is for the SEO to admit they don't know what they're doing. The result, businesses, SEOs, people start obsessing over review count, but we can look at the data. This is the search for Houston plumber. It's one of my favorite searches to show this point. There are businesses with thousands of reviews being outranked by businesses with just a few hundred. In this case, Acacius has 61 reviews. And if you scroll down below Nix, there are companies with 10,000 plus reviews being outranked by Acacius there. Okay. Reviews are incredibly important for conversion, though. If you search for Plumber Houston and was presented with this, you're probably going to call Nick, right? Not many people here are going to call Acacius with only 61 reviews against 4,000. So that's where reviews are incredibly valuable in the old map pack algorithm. They really determine who gets the call. But again, I'm going to bring up Ask Maps because we go back to Google's AI, ChatGPT, all the LLMs, Claude, Grok, etc. They care so much more about reviews than Google's algorithm does. But they don't care just about Google's reviews. They care about all of the different platforms, especially Yelp. Okay. Yelp reviews are so impactful. Yelp and ChatGPT just signed an agreement, so Yelp data is feeding directly into ChatGPT now. There's also a lot of evidence that Gemini cares about Yelp reviews. Yelp reviews are much, much harder to get and much harder to get to stick than GBP reviews. That's one of the reasons that a lot of these LLMs are putting higher trust on Yelp reviews. So we want to think about review diversity across a variety of platforms, BBB, Trustpilot, Angie's, obviously Yelp, in addition to the GBP. On top of that, we have to think more about review content. Because the AIs are now reading your reviews, there's something called attribute matching, where the AI is going to try to match the specific language in your review to the specific language that someone searched for in order to find you. The example, this is Google's exact example. If somebody searches for a coffee shop near me with fast Wi-Fi, if you have a review that mentions your fast Wi-Fi, you're very likely to get that recommendation, to get that call. If you don't have any reviews that mention fast Wi-Fi, your competitor is likely to get that call. So what this means, these reviews and the actual language in them becomes so much more important than they've been historically. So we don't get our clients to ask their customers just, hey, could you please leave a review and then drop a Google link? Instead, we're going to rotate platforms, and the phrasing is different. It's going to be something like, could you share what we helped you with today and the outcome? This follows all of Google's rules. They just introduced some new rules about how you can't ask for people's names in the review, how you can't ask for specific services in the review. Notice we're not doing any of that here. And I say rotate platforms, but be careful about asking for reviews on Yelp. Yelp does not allow review solicitation. So just be aware of that when you're rotating platforms. They're the most powerful one, but like I mentioned before, the hardest one to get. Okay. So that's the true and false game. Hopefully some of you understood that the pattern, that every single statement was false. So let's talk about what is actually true. Okay. By 2028, that's like a couple of years from now, $750 billion in US revenue is going to go through AI-powered search. So if you don't adapt, if you aren't being visible by these AI systems, you're going to miss out on all that money. And we know that this shift is real because the smartest money in the world is moving toward AI. NVIDIA is currently the most valuable company on earth. It's worth over $5 trillion, and 90% of its revenues come from AI chips. Some of you might be thinking that NVIDIA is selling shovels during the gold rush. We also have OpenAI and Anthropic. They're both looking to go public. Anthropic is looking at $975 billion. And plus, in June, we know SpaceX just went public themselves at 1.75 trillion. They're down a bit since then, but these are still massive numbers, all of them based on AI. Something like 95% of SpaceX's future forecasted revenues come from Grok AI, not the company that launches rocket ships into the air. On top of that, the S&P 500 is made up roughly half of AI companies. So that means all the money is going to AI. And that's where all the growth is going also. The most valuable companies in the world are going all in on AI. Google, in June, Google sold more shares of their company. They raised $75 billion with a capital sale. This is the first time they've done that since they went public. Okay? Google ran out of money and sold shares to raise more money for the first time since they went public. A company that essentially prints money, spent it all on AI. They needed more to keep going in. The smartest investors, the biggest companies, they're all making the same bet toward AI. Every serious company on earth is racing to master AI, to learn how to implement it, to build it into their operations. That means that we need to do this too. We can't get left behind. SEO is not as complicated as the gurus want you to believe. A lot of the technical stuff has never been easier because AI can help you do it as long as you ask it to help you in the right way. We just need to use it. We just need to capitalize on it. And that's what I'm going to show you. But I want to make sure that you understand how I figured this out, okay? I learned this the hard way. Look at how young I was in that photo. After I graduated college, I spent the first 10 years working for ExxonMobil, making good money, doing the stable thing. But the corporate job, stressful, difficult, long commute. I basically saw my kid only on the weekends. And yeah, it's tough. A lot of us have been there. We're entrepreneurs. It gets to a point where you start thinking, man, there's got to be a better way. So I start looking into ways to build my own business. I wanted time freedom, location freedom, the ability to actually be present for my family. So I discovered local SEO. And when I first found it, I had no idea what I was doing, right? I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, I read blog posts, I tried every tactic, and man, I was so bad, right? I barely knew what SEO stood for, but still, my very first client, I got their domain de-indexed. If you don't know what that means, it's the worst thing you can do in SEO. They were paying me $3,000 a month, and I got their domain de-indexed. I really felt like a fraud here. And they fired me, which, you know, looking back on it, that was the right move. They should have fired me. So that gave me a choice. I could either give up or figure out the SEO thing for real. Now, I did get their domain re-indexed, but first I bought every single SEO course that I could find. If you were selling an SEO course in 2014, 2015, I bought it. I spent money I didn't have. I spent $300,000 on every SEO training I could find, and I started split testing, an engineer's data mindset. Some of the stuff worked, but a lot of it didn't. And something changed. I realized everything I was doing was overcomplicated. All these advanced tactics that the experts said to do, but I looked at the businesses that were ranking and they weren't doing complicated stuff. They were just doing these very simple things, but doing them consistently. So I stripped everything back. I focused on the fundamentals, what actually moves the needle. And bit by bit, with split testing, with data, we figured out a system that actually worked. Then ChatGPT came out. So November of 2022, this felt like it was going to replace every business. Like if you were relying on informational searches to bring you traffic, it took 5 minutes with ChatGPT to realize that Google was likely going to take that traffic from you when they could. It took it a few years, but that's largely started to happen, except local businesses, right? No matter how advanced Google's AI is, it's still at least a couple of years from being able to replace your water heater. So I called a meeting with the team. This is January, February 23, and we decided to focus only on local. So we threw together a Facebook ad campaign. We hit go. And a couple days later, my sales guy, his name was Tyler, he calls me and he says, "Hey, Caleb, I have my first meeting with a plumber this afternoon." And I was like, "Hey, that's great, Tyler. What do you need from me?" And he said, "Caleb, what do you want me to talk about with him?" We didn't have an offer. We didn't have a price point. We didn't know what we were going to even talk to this plumber about. So we started, again, split testing and figuring out and eventually put together an offer that ended up doing really, really well. The offer was very simple. We only get paid when you get leads. Now, from the day that we had our first close, we closed a new plumber almost every day. 30 clients in 30 days on to 97 clients over 6 months. And obviously that was fabulous, not just because of the revenue, not because of just because of the client growth, but because now I had 100 plumber GBPs across the United States. And that's given me an amazing opportunity to split test all of these processes, all of these tactics. And since then, I've worked with hundreds of other local clients, not just plumbing, across the board, and used all of this data to build the system that we're about to talk through. And I wanted to make sure you guys are on the same page because this wasn't something that I built from theory. We built this with real data, with hundreds of real businesses that we have delivered real, consistent, and repeatable results for. Now, I'm not saying that I'm special or an SEO genius. I'm a chemical engineer, and as I talked about, I didn't know what SEO even stood for like 10 years ago. But I've been able to grow 2 agencies to 7 figures. Okay, I can retain clients for longer. I can make more money from each client than my competitors can. And that's what we're going to talk about now. Because if I can deliver these results across scale, hundreds of clients, you can 100% do this for your local business, for your individual clients. And I want to give you proof, some real results from people using the system. We have Mary. She plugged this exact system and has leads coming in every single day with her ideal clients, booking her for the work she's been chasing for years. Absolutely phenomenal. We have Alec here. Now look at this. He's been struggling to rank this client for over a year. And in 1 month, he went from all red to a lot of green and some orange. He still has some work to do, but man, that's a month of applying this after a year of struggling. Ron here raised client rankings from 6th to 10th position to the top 3. He's been doing SEO for 28 years, and this system really helped him nail it down. So what is this? Let us go ahead and talk about it. I mentioned these briefly at the beginning. Our 3 pillars: the visibility gap, the core 30 structure, and the core 30 implementation plan. So we want to master these 3 things so that we're on the right track to SEO wins. So let's talk through this. Let's go and hit up pillar number 1, the visibility gap. All right, the visibility gap. So let me ask a question. How many services does your business or does your client's business offer? If you're a plumber, you could maybe offer 15 to 20 services. HVAC, maybe you offer 10 to 15. A dentist, you could offer 35 services. But the real question, how many pages does your website have for those services? Most businesses, they have 15 or more services on their GBP, but their website has 4 or 5 pages: the home page, the about page, the contact page, one long page that lists all their services, maybe a blog, but that's it. And the reason that's a massive problem is that Google can only rank you for what it can see. In 2026, we talked about how Google's algorithm is different now. It doesn't use keywords. If you're talking to an SEO company and they're talking to you about keywords, you should go the other way. Google no longer works on keywords. It works on entities. An entity is Google's way of understanding what something is. Your Google business profile is an entity. It is the heart of your local business entity. Your website is an entity. The services are entities. The city you're in is an entity. So if you offer emergency plumbing, but you don't have a page that talks about emergency plumbing, Google doesn't know you offer it because the entity is missing. AI works in the same way, and AI also won't know that you offer emergency plumbing. So if someone searches who's the best emergency plumber in Austin, you're not going to be considered because you didn't talk about emergency plumbing on your website. Okay, Google constantly checks whether the entities match, and the closer they match, the better your rank is going to be. If they don't match, then Google doesn't trust you. This is the visibility gap, okay? It's the difference between the services that you offer and the services that Google can see that you offer. For most local businesses, it's a huge gap. Like, look at this guy. He's not going to make that jump. There's no way he's going to make that jump, okay? So let's talk about why that gap is so important. SEO, for local SEO, the most important thing is the Google business profile. Okay. Now, the exception is ChatGPT. ChatGPT uses Bing's index. Microsoft was an early investor in ChatGPT. So for ChatGPT, it's Bing for business. But the Bing for business, you can claim it the same way you claim your GBP, and you can actually copy your GBP to your Bing for business profile. So for the rest of this, I'm going to say GBP. And every time I say GBP, know that I mean your GBP and your Bing for business profile. If you don't have a Bing for Business profile, go get one like right after this webinar. Okay, so your GBP tells Google what services you offer, but Google can't confidently rank you for services that you provide from your website if it can't verify that those services are on your website. Google ranks its core algorithm, its map pack algorithm. It's based on proximity. We talked about this, trust and relevance. And if we have a lack of trust and a lack of relevance, you're not going to rank. You're not going to be recommended by AI. And with the increasing reliance of AI search, the one metric that could have helped proximity, it no longer does. Proximity does not mean as much to AI, not in the same way. Google's AI doesn't care how close you are exactly. It cares whether it can verify what you offer. Okay, so with Gemini, you're now missing 2 out of the 3 factors and losing the third one that could have saved you. So this large visibility gap means that customers can't find you anymore, and then you obviously lose money. Most business owners have no idea that this visibility gap exists. They think I have a website, so I should be ranking, but the website isn't built for how Google and AI actually work. So the first step to ranking, to getting recommended by AI, is knowing where you're invisible. Okay, we need to know what's broken before we can fix it. So we're going to run a visibility check, find the gaps, and that will allow us to know where you're losing. But of course, we know just learning what the problem is isn't enough. We also need to fix it. Okay, so that is pillar 2. So let's talk about pillar 2, the core 30 structure. Core 30 is phrasing that I coined. I'm super proud of it. But we concluded most local business websites have massive gaps. Okay, the GBP has 4 categories and 30 services, but their website has the homepage, the about page, a contact page, and a generic service pages. It ends up being 5 pages trying to support 35 entities. Google doesn't know how to believe that. So the solution to this is the core 30. What this means, very simply, we build 1 page for every category and 1 page for every service on your GBP. But we also need to think about the hierarchy. We need to create a structure of the website that is a perfect mirror image of the Google business profile. So let's talk through the structure, okay? So number 1, homepage. The homepage is going to target the primary category and your city name. Then each secondary category has its own dedicated page, and your homepage is here. Each secondary category lives below the homepage, and the homepage links directly to each secondary category page. Then each service also gets its own page. It lives below the secondary category page, and it gets that link directly from its parent secondary category. The internal linking structure tells Google exactly how the services relate to each other, and it results in your website matching their entity database exactly. That's the goal. But what do we put on those pages? If we put generic content, then your rankings won't exist. Google won't index your content. Every page has to be hyper local. What that means, the content has to be very highly specific to small geographical areas, neighborhoods, streets, landmarks, rather than these big citygate pages or regions. City pages, regional pages, those just don't work. They're too generic. They're too broad. When I mean Malden is a suburb of Boston. So a plumber in Malden shouldn't write articles talking about fixing pipes. They need to talk about the old pipe infrastructure in Somerville. They talk about the triple deckers in Medford. They talk about the coastal weather coming off of Revere Beach. Okay. The goal is to make it sound like you provide that service in that city. I know that might sound wild, but that's the goal, to write content that makes Google and AI believe that you are generally local and genuinely operating in that specific market. It only sounds wild because we've gotten lazy, right? Okay, so when we combine this perfect entity hierarchy with this hyper local content across the core 30, Google and ChatGPT get so much confidence that your business is legitimate, that you actually provide that service in that area. This gives you the undeniable authority in that area, and you start seeing results. Like Elliot, page 9 to page 1. We have Bob, some improvements in just a few days. Look at this. Look at this rank map. It's almost all green, just a few days. Look at Robert here. This is 1 week. Yes, again, he has a lot of work to do. One orange dot to a handful of green and some orange, but this is 1 week of results. The concept is so important. I want you to understand this fully before we move on from this. So I'm going to show you a website example that follows the core 30 structure, okay? A live website example. Let me grab the website. Here we go. So this is a sample website. This isn't a real plumbing company. We've called it Gary Plumbing Company, and G is their logo. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about how this website is structured. So we have the H1 where we mention the primary category and the city name. Then we start talking to users who land on this website or to AI agents who are reading this website for users. Then we immediately go into what they do, what's important about them. Then we have our trust badges. And then again, the first content that we have right here, we are talking to the searcher. We're talking to the user. If your local business website, if your content right here is a history lesson about your business, where you say that you were founded in 1985 and your great-grandfather used to be a pipe fitter in Sicily and he immigrated to the United States and blah, 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 I can promise you that very few people are typing plumber Gary because they're interested in the history of local plumbers in the Gary, Indiana area. Okay, people are typing that because they need a plumber. So you need to talk to the people who need a plumber. All right, so let's keep going. Again, some more trust badges. Why call them? This is the unique selling proposition. Why us? Why now? Type content. Then we're going to embed the GBP reviews. Okay, obviously this is a sample site, so there's no GBP. Okay, so drainage service is one of their secondary categories, okay? For plumbers, that's super common. So we're going to use drainage service and the city name, and then we're going to have a link to a page that is more information about drainage services. Here's the drainage service page. And this page, you can see it links to all of these service pages that live under drainage service. Okay. Now, the next, bathroom remodeler, that's another secondary category on their GBP. We link to another page about bathroom remodeling, and we have all of these links to services that live under bathroom remodeling. Now, water heater replacement, that's not a secondary category. That's what we call a core service. It's a service that this company really, really wants to rank for. So we're going to put that on the homepage. We're linked to a dedicated page about it. Then main drain line replacement, that's another core service. Every plumber I've ever spoken to loves main drain line replacements, loves water heater replacements, high profit, low time. So that's another core service. Then we have the location pages that are linked to here. So what we're doing in these location pages is we're focusing on hyper-specific areas. We're going to look at the rank map. We're going to look for places where you're ranked 4, 5, 6, and then we're going to write content about those hyper-local areas, like plumbing near Marquette Park, plumbing near Indiana University, plumbing near the U.S. Steel Yard. The U.S. Steel Yard is the local minor league ballpark in Gary, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So these are hyper-local pages. These are not generic city pages. Then we have the GBP review or GBP embed, and I can show you the actual service pages. So if you click services, you see this, right? This is the secondary category. These are all the services that live under that secondary category. This is the secondary category, the services under it, core service, the services related to it, core service, services related to it. This is the primary category, and then all the services related to it. And this page exactly matches the way the services are built on the Google Business Profile. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense when I show you guys the real example instead of just talking through it. Everyone here is going to get a link to the replay, so you'll be able to slow it down, look through that a little bit more carefully. All right. So that's the example of the Core 30 structure. We want to make sure that you guys, that everyone here is understanding the visibility gap. They understand the structure to close that gap, but we need to learn how to implement it. Okay, so let's talk about the Core 30 implementation plan. All right. So this is a 5-step process. We don't want to skip any of the steps. The whole system breaks if you skip anything. So go through it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here we go. Step number 1, entity research. Okay. This is the first thing we need to do. We need to answer 4 very important questions. Number 1, what is the primary category of the GBP? Number 2, what are the distinct secondary categories? Number 3, what services should we list? And number 4, how many fields are actually filled out on the GBP? Everything we do is built on the GBP being correct. Most agencies skip this step. They go straight to writing content. But if you don't know how Google currently sees the business, it's just building on sand. Okay? Google matches entities, not keywords. We talked about that, right? It's asking, is everything I can find about this business telling me the same story? And if not, then you don't rank. So we don't guess what we're going to add. We're going to look at secondary categories top ranking competitors in your city are using. Another good tip, take a look at top ranking competitors in the Houston area. Houston has a very large city, 4th largest city in the United States. It's very competitive, but it has a density similar to the rest of the United States, whereas Chicago, New York, LA are much denser than a typical American city. Houston is not. Okay, so that was step 1. Now, step 2, the GBP audit. So we talked about how the average local business has 1 or 2 categories. Google allows up to 10. There is absolutely no evidence that adding more categories dilutes your primary. I don't know where that got started. It is inaccurate. If you add more categories, it increases the things that you can rank for. Most average local businesses have 5 services listed. You should have 30 or more. Maybe a business description that's 2 sentences. Half of the fields aren't filled out at all. This is a huge problem. Every empty field is a missed signal to Google, or to be more accurate, it's a signal to Google that you don't care. You didn't care enough to fill out the GBP. So audit your GBP. Make sure every relevant field is maxed out. Your category, your GBP description allows 500 characters. You should have like 490 characters in that. Every single secondary category that's relevant should be added. Every single service that the business actually provides should be added. Everything you don't add is a ranking opportunity that you just leave on the table. Okay, now the gap analysis. So we know that when we perform a gap analysis, we're going to compare what's on the Google Business Profile to what's on the actual website. And if the GBP lists water heater installation, but there's no page on the website about water heater installation, that is a gap. If the GBP has drainage service as a secondary category, but the website never mentions it, then that is a gap. Okay. But what's important to understand is that some services are distinct entities, but some services overlap with other services. Okay. You need to make sure that each page you build is for distinct entities. For example, emergency services and waterline services, those are distinct. Burst pipe repair, overlaps with emergency services. The way you can find this out is to search your primary category, right? So take your two services that you're interested in, search for one of them on Google, then search for the other one on Google and compare the results. If they're completely different, then Google sees it as a distinct entity, build a page for it. If there's a huge amount of overlap, then Google already sees that they're the same entity. One of my favorite examples for a personal injury lawyer would be car wreck lawyer, car wreck attorney, car accident lawyer, and car accident attorney. You can type those 4 services in to Google and see virtually the same results. Okay, so that's 4 keywords, but 1 service entity. That's why understanding that Google no longer uses keywords is very important. You could end up spamming your Google business profile. So your gap analysis, it gives you this exact content plan, 1 dedicated page per distinct service entity that's missing from your website. That becomes your content plan, your core 30. Now it's time to build it. That's step 4, hyper-local content production. Now, I talked about this. Generic content, it likely is not going to get even indexed. I remember I was talking with someone and he was like, hey, I went to my competitor's website, I grabbed their content, I gave it to ChatGPT, and I said, rewrite this content for me. And it didn't work. I mean, of course it didn't work. Why would that work? Okay. By definition, AI-generated content is almost always just the average of everything the AI can find. Google knows it, ChatGPT knows it, they all know it. So what we need to do to fix this is to write content that is locally relevant. We have to talk about local neighborhoods. We have to reference local conditions. As I said before, we want it to sound like somebody who actually operates in that market, who actually knows that market. Now, to do this, it takes research. We need to find out what real people in that city are actually asking about that service. Local forums, Reddit, community groups, other local sources, the U.S. Census Bureau. We need to take all of that research. We need to take all the information about that business. Get your unique selling proposition. What makes you different? What makes you interesting? What location do you serve? What types of jobs do you do? Take all that information and combine it with the local research and then build an outline around specific local pain points, specific local questions. Every single page needs to answer these USP. Why you? Why now? Why should the searcher call you? What have you been doing for a long time? What do you know about a very specific area that the competitors from one town over may not know? And what makes this challenging is the goal. What we're trying to accomplish, every page has to say something that isn't already on the page's ranking for that term. Okay? Google calls this informationally different. Google likely will not index your content if it is not informationally different. This was an update that Google pushed out in April of 2026, like 4 months ago, and it resulted in mass de-indexing of AI slop in May. This is fabulous news for those of us who want to use Google to find something, because Google finally started de-indexing AI slop. And the way to distinguish your content is to make it informationally different. That's the key word. Every page should go very, very deep on local detail. Who actually lives there? What's the climate like? What's the microclimate like in that specific area? We want the kind of thing that somebody who knows that market could write. We can't give a generic prompt to ChatGPT and have it write this type of content. We need to go much deeper, much more research. My own human copywriters, and I do have several humans on staff who do copywriting still, even today, but they spend 60 to 90 minutes just doing the research for a single page. And they're using AI to do the research. They're not researching by hand, right? We're not crazy people over here. They're using AI to do the research. It still takes 60 to 90 minutes just in research per page. Now, multiply that by 30 pages for the full core 30, and even with AI speeding up that research, writing original hyperlocal content is an enormous amount of work. Sometimes we think back to the halcyon days where all we needed to do was grab people also ask questions and answer those, and suddenly we had all the comprehensiveness we needed. That doesn't work anymore. People also ask questions have been too abused. They just don't work like they used to. And our content needs to be human, hyper-local specific, and answer questions your local community actually has. If you do that, your content will put you in a good position to rank. Okay, so then let's talk about how we actually structure the content. This is step 5, asset generation and deployment. Now, every single page needs 3 things. We need schema markup or structured data. We need 3 to 4 locally contextual images per page and a YouTube video, a short video that summarizes the page content that ideally is uploaded to a branded channel and embedded on the page. Now, these are not optional. Schema is not optional. Schema is structured data. Schema is the one and only opportunity that you have to talk directly to Google, directly to the AI systems. And you can explicitly tell them that this is your business, this is your website, this is your organization. Okay, that's what structured data does. You're removing the need for Google or for the AI to guess who you are. You're telling it exactly. Okay, now, the YouTube video, we don't want to skip this. This is a big complaint I get from clients. They don't want to do YouTube videos. But remember, Google owns YouTube. Gemini, the Google's AI model that we've been talking about since the very beginning, that Gemini is taking over local search. Gemini is the only frontier large language model, the only frontier AI model that has been intrinsically trained on video content. Because Google owns YouTube, it trained Gemini on video. The other models, they understand video transcripts, not the actual video, okay? So embedding a video on the page, it's a massive signal of trust. It tells Google that the business is real and authoritative. And beyond that, right? If you are a plumber in Gary and you write an article that talks about how to price a water heater replacement, and then you do a video about how to price a water heater replacement, and somebody in Gary goes into Google or goes onto ChatGPT and says, hey, how much is a water heater replacement in Gary? You're so likely to get cited by Gemini if you have a video about that topic. Gemini loves citing local content when the search is local. And if you have a video, it loves showing that video. Okay, that's how Gemini works. All right, now we have the pages sorted. It's time to link everything together. This is the whole structure, the whole thing that we're going to do. So let's talk about how to link it together. I've talked about this, just want to make sure we're super clear. The homepage links to the secondary category pages. The secondary category pages link to the service pages that live under that. We structure it that way because we tell Google this is exactly how our services relate to one another. It matches your Google business profile exactly, and then Google rewards you by building trust, by ranking you. So when we get all 5 steps in place, we end up with a website that is a perfect mirror image of the GBP. The Google, the AI systems, they don't guess anymore, so you start ranking and you see results like Kyle. Look at this, number 91 to number 1. Okay, absolutely phenomenal. This happened in a few months. We have Braden. 4 weeks it took him to see an ROI. Went from a handful of green to a third of the map green. Still some work to do, but this is a month in, week 4. We have Mark here. He went from 36% top 3 to 76% in just, how long was this? In a single month. He did this. Look at this in 1 month. Absolutely extraordinary. AI makes this faster and doable in a few weeks to a few months. But the ugly truth is if you do this manually, it's expensive. It takes a lot of time. Okay, you heard me talk about how much research is necessary. All these other things, the entity research, the video, the content writing, the schema markup, the internal linking, all of this takes time, even with AI's help. And because of that, the SEO world has gotten used to this taking months to get results like this. But what if you didn't have to do any of this manually? What if you could do all of it in like 30 minutes? Would you believe me if I told you that? And I got to be honest, like a couple of months ago, I wouldn't have believed you that this was possible myself. But I told you at the beginning that we can use AI to rank faster. AI has become so good that my agency, for my own agency's purposes, for our use, we built an AI agent that runs the entire process in like a half hour. So let me show you what this looks like. So we call it the Core 30 agent. Not a super creative name, but hey, I'm an engineer. It's okay. So you first open it, you can see this is a demo, so we can short circuit. It takes some time because the LLM has to think, but you're going to see this exact thing for the first time you open it. We'll hit start building. Now, the first thing is going to ask for your website. Okay, so you just put your website in and you hit go. When it finds your website, it's going to use your website to identify your Google Business Profile. And with that GBP, it's then going to run rank maps. This is what the rank maps look like. Green means you're in the top 3. Yellow means you're like 6 through 7 or 6 through 10. Orange and red. And then you can also see some of your competitors, Router Kings, Aquaflow, Metro Roofer, etc. Okay. And what it's talking about, here's your actual business. You can check this to make sure it's accurate. Plumber, website says, yeah, usable foundation. The service pages exist, but they don't yet back everything up because you gave it the website. So it's going to crawl your website, analyze your website, and just give all of this to you straight away. Then we're going to hit next. And the Core 30 agent is going to give you a 12-page plan. So the first thing, we know we're missing some service pages, right? We had services on the GBP that we don't have on the website. It found that because it found your GBP, it found your website. So it says, hey, we should write these service pages. It also says, hey, here's some supporting pages that we could write. And how many videos would you like to generate? 3 videos, all 6, or none? This uses a third-party tool to AI generate videos. So then we can hit start and it starts building the content. This is an example of what it looks like. Obviously, we see this going through, but there's 5 steps when this builds content. It starts researching. Then once it researches, it builds an outline. Then it writes the page. Then it does the images, the schema, the videos, and it finally publishes. This takes 5-10 minutes normally. And while you're waiting, you can watch some of my YouTube videos if you are interested in that. And now we can show the completed pages. So here are the 12 pages. And this software, the Core 30 agent, it can directly publish to WordPress, to Webflow, to 6 or 7 different platforms. We're working on adding a few more like High Level and other platforms like that. Within the next few weeks, I expect this to be able to publish to pretty much any platform you can imagine. And this is the finished published page. This is on WordPress. The Core 30 agent wrote this or published this itself after writing the content. Here's the video it created. We can see what's covered, when to call, what to expect. We have some frequently asked questions down here. So this is what the Core 30 agent does. This has been around for a few months now. And so this came up just very, very recently. You can see like less than a month ago, I posted about this and we can see Mark here. Like this is, look at this, May 27th to June 16th. This is the before and after for plumbing repair. Okay. He has another one. Right, what is May 24th to May 30th? This is 6 days for room additions. Okay. 6 days. Okay, now look at this one. This is May 24th to June 21st, so about a month for building code compliance consulting. Like, look at this in just a month. And we have another one. I'll show you this. This is psychologist. This is May 2nd to June 25th. So this is about a month and a half, almost 2 months to go from all red to mostly green. All of this was content written by the Core 30 agent, published by the Core 30 agent. You know, and then there's so much more I can show. Just people showing like less than 2 weeks ago, he's seeing these results. I can just show so many fast progress. Like look at this, and this is in a week. Right. So, okay, I've shown enough, but so there's so many people posting excitedly with the results they're getting. So, okay, I know a lot of you are watching this and asking, how do you actually get access to the software? Okay, so firstly, if you are a VIP member, if you joined with a VIP, you're going to get a 7-day access. It's going to be emailed to you in the next few hours. We also have a VIP Q&A that is right after this session, where we'll go deeper on how to best utilize the Core 30 agent and answer any of your questions. Okay, and for everyone else, or for those of you who might want more than a week, I put together a special offer that's going to help you rank local businesses higher and faster. It includes the Core 30 agent, that software that I showed you today. And yes, all of those before and afters, Kelsey, were done by AI writers. I have one human copywriter. I used to have a team of 14 human copywriters. But the Core 30 agent does copywriting better and faster than even my lone human copywriter who's remaining. So all of the content is virtually written by the Core 30 agent. The offer I'm going to talk about is centered around the Core 30 agent that I showed you. It's also working with me on a much closer basis. The goal is to help you start ranking local businesses as fast as possible. So let me know, please, in the chat if you guys are cool with me sharing you this offer before we get to the Q&A. Awesome. Awesome. Jenny, Greg, Lisa, Cole, Julio, Brian, Scott, Wayne, another Brian, Beck, Hader, Jana, Christopher, Kevin. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's do it. So let me ask you a quick question. Let's pretend that you're Ronald Acuna Jr. and you tore your ACL. It seems to be a very common thing for that gentleman. Now, if that happened, would you look it up on YouTube or and try to fix it yourself, or would you find the best specialist that you possibly could before it gets any worse? Now, most people, of course, would hire the best specialist. And the truth is, the SEO strategy is your torn ligament. If you're not ranking in the top 3, whether it's your business or your clients, you're losing money every single day. Your competitors are taking it from you while you're trying to figure out how to rank on your own. So most people, to solve this, they watch YouTube videos, they try random tactics, and they hope that something sticks instead of going to the specialist, somebody who's done it hundreds of times, who has the right process, the right system. And that's why they never get traction. So here's the reality. We have 2 options from this point on. Option 1, take what we've gone through today and figure this out yourself. And if you do what we've gone through today, watch the replay, apply it. It will help. You will see results if you do what we talked through today. Okay, but you're still going to have to figure it out yourself just based on this session. So that means you're likely going to keep losing retainers and starting from scratch because you're still trying to put the pieces together on your own. If you own a local business, you're going to keep publishing content that might not work while your competitors rank above you and take your customers because you're just guessing if you don't have a proven system. Now, the second option, let me hand you the exact AI tool, the exact software and system that I built for my own SEO agencies. I took everything that I know, everything that I built across 10 years, 2 7-figure SEO agencies and over 200 ranked businesses, and I returned it into this one software, the Core 30 agent. That's the exact tool that I just showed you, that it just built that complete SEO strategy right in front of you. And it's the core of the special offer that I put together for everyone here on this live. Skip the $300,000 I spent on SEO training, skip the 7 years of trial and error, and start ranking local businesses as soon as possible to the top 3. So let me walk you through exactly what is included. First and most important, direct access to the Core 30 agent. That's the software I showed you. It's the same tool I run my agency on. It allows you to do a complete customized SEO strategy, even if you are a complete beginner, okay? At my agency, my minimum is $2,400 a month. We run the Core 30 agent on clients at my agency. Same tool that you guys will have access to. Okay, the agent does 80 to 90% of the work. It turns a 60-hour per client process into something you can do with your morning coffee. And again, full access to it when you join. You can run it on your local business. If you have an agency, you can run it in as many clients as you want. You log in and it starts working, okay? When you log in, it comes with enough usage to run 5 individual clients at my agency content rate. It's about 60 or 70 articles every single month. All of the research also included. There's no per word cost, no extra fees. If you do need more than 60 or 70 articles per month, we charge like $1 or $2 per article to keep raising to keep producing content above that. You also get access to the AI SEO Mastery Pro group, okay? Now, we're not just stopping there. I'm going to give you 6 bonuses when you join today. Okay, so the first one, the complete course library inside AI SEO Mastery Pro. You saw me show briefly the community, the people posting their wins in there. Beyond that, there's a complete course library, SEO Foundations, Local AI SEO, the Google Business Profile, AI Content Creation, Offsite SEO, Optimizing for ChatGPT. This means even if you're starting from zero, even if you're a complete beginner, you know what the agent is doing for you. You know why the agent is doing the things it's doing and why it works. Okay, this is what it looks like, what you have access to on the inside. Okay, bonus number 2. Every prompt that we battle tested across hundreds of real clients, they're not generic prompts. We use them every single day. They're inside the AI SEO Mastery Pro training. Bonus number 3, the community itself. There's over 600 local business owners and SEO agencies who are running the system right now inside the school community. It's very active. There are dozens of posts every single day. If you have questions, if you have problems, you can post in there. I'll answer. I'm very active in there. People on my team who do SEO for me, they're in there. And a lot of the other members, they were where you are now. They were there a couple of months ago. So they can help you with the next couple of steps. They've solved the problem